Hi everyone, my name is Ijeoma Ucheibe, and as you may have noticed by the caption, this is the first part of the video series where I get to address National Industrial Court of Nigeria decisions made. I'm just going to pick decisions that I find interesting, especially because sometimes working in HR, working as a lawyer who is now choosing that path, you see cases that are not very cutthroat, they're not very straightforward sometimes, and then you also want to kind of unpack issues that are relied on for determination of some of these matters in courts, and how case law also comes in very handy in deciding some of these matters. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. If this is your first time tuning in to my channel, welcome. Don't forget to subscribe down below. But I cannot wait to get into the meat of this particular video because it's juicy, and also because it's the very first time I'll be talking about a decision of the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. This is the first of the 3 videos that I'm going to use to kind of just simplify and talk about this case, only because I have an audience that is largely full of HR professionals that are not necessarily lawyers, and this does not in any way constitute legal advice. Please do not rely on everything I said on this video. That's a disclaimer to say I relied on what IG or Ijeoma said in this video as legal advice. If you do require legal advice, I'm available to be consulted outside the channel. That also is not solicitation or advertisement, so I have to put that out there because we are abiding by the rules of professional conduct. But hey, I digress. So I'm going to be talking about Captain Benedict Olusoji and the Nigerian Army and 3 others. And from time to time, I'm going to look at my notes and then look at the camera. So work with me here, okay? So to the background of this case, it's a very simple one. It's supposed to be long, but I said, okay, I'll have to make it very simple for my channel so that everyone gets the gist. Captain Benedict Olusoji, who is the judgment creditor, I will get to that in a minute, sued the Nigerian Army, who in this case is a judgment debtor, and won a judgment of 75 million naira for wrongful termination of his employment. Second fact, the debtor hasn't paid, and the creditor, who in this case is Captain Benedict Olusoji, work with me here, has now sued the judgment creditor, who is Nigerian Army and 3 others, and wants to enforce that judgment he got at a lower court, which is National Industrial Court, through a garnishi order. Now, this is a Court of Appeal decision. It's going to likely continue on to the Supreme Court. I cannot provide that information at this time, only because this decision was given in 2021, I think October. Now, the last part is a garnishi order is a court order requiring a third party, who in this case is the Central Bank of Nigeria, to hold on to funds belonging to the judgment debtor until the debt is settled. Now, a garnishi proceeding is when somebody is owing another party money and they are refusing to pay. So you write to a bank or all the banks in Nigeria to say, we want you to confirm to the court, show cause why you should not be in a particular matter. Showing cause is to say this person does not maintain an account with us, so we would ask to be taken out of this particular proceeding. We are not a party to this proceeding. But in this case, the federal bank was asked to pay him. So it was like a judgment was given in the sum of 25 million, and the Nigerian Army decided not to pay for whatever reason. Now, the current dispute we're looking at in this video, so I'm going to talk through the dispute and then the issues, things that I will try to address. Now, the current dispute is the judgment debtor, who is Captain Benedict Olusoji, is now arguing that the garnishi order shouldn't be granted because, the judgment debtor is Nigerian Army, sorry for that mistake, shouldn't be granted because they have already appealed the original judgment. So the Nigerian Army in this case is saying, we had already appealed this judgment where you gave the judgment of 75 million naira to Captain Benedict Olusoji. How then are you requiring us to pay this person the sum of 75 million, I would think that this would be a stay of proceedings or the stay of execution. Now, by stay of execution, simply put, is the judgment has been given to a party, but it cannot be executed just yet. The payment in this case of 75 million cannot be done yet, except Court of Appeal in this instance has said, oh, we still find in favor of the judgment creditor, who in this case is a person that was laid off or wrongfully, who was granted a judgment of 75 million. I hope we are understanding me so far. Okay, so the next dispute is this same judgment debtor, in this case, Nigerian Army, is now claiming that the appeal puts a hold on enforcing the original judgment, which is the stay of execution that I was talking about. In essence, they're saying we cannot pay this 75 million naira, except this matter that we have now argued to say, oh, this judgment does not find in favor of us, and then there are issues, or these are the grounds on which we are appealing to say, don't execute the judgment of the High Court or the National Industrial Court in this case against us, that is Nigerian Army. And then we come down to the last dispute matter, which is the judgment creditor now argues that filing an appeal alone does not automatically stop enforcement, and they followed proper procedures for the garnishee order. I promise you, if I want to start getting into the integrity of how they arrived at these three things, I was able to summarize, I'm going to be talking for the next 1 hour. And as much as I'm trying to talk about decisions of the National Industrial Court, I also don't want to bore you. I want to keep it interesting in such a way that you will come back to this channel again and again. So those are the three things. Judgment debtor is claiming, oh, we already filed an appeal. We shouldn't have a garnishee order granted against us for the judgment creditor, who in this case is Captain Benedict Olusoji. Captain Benedict is saying, yes, I get that you filed an appeal, but pending when that appeal is heard by that court, which in this case is the Court of Appeal, I have a right to get my judgment sum, which is in the sum of 75 million naira, which is a tidy sum if you ask me, because I don't want to go into the integrity of the facts of the case and how it was arrived at. I might talk about wrongful termination of employment at a later date in one of the decisions, and what are the elements that constitute one, and how and when you can actually do that. So the current issues, two key issues that this court was seeking to address before arriving at that judgment. One of them was, does the appeal prevent the garnishee order? So in this case, we saw whether the Nigerian law was likely to determine, the effect of an appeal on enforcement. Can you say because I've appealed, we are two parties that have issues. I'm party A, the employer, I have party B, who has sued me for wrongful termination of employment, has sued your company for wrongful termination. What are the issues that this case was seeking to address was, now that this employee has taken your organization, for instance, to courts, and they have won a matter against you, the natural progression of things is to have you pay out a particular sum if those were quoted in the judgment against the organization as damages to the employee. And in this case, let's just say because there was a delay or because you found some faults with the judgment, what are the things that you're likely to do to stop enforcement? Because in this case, party A, which is the Nigerian Army, whose judgment debtor, is arguing that, hey, we did get this judgment, we appealed the judgment because we feel that there were certain issues for determinations that were not done in such a way that the proper procedure were followed. That is their right as an appellant in this case. The judgment creditor, on the one hand, is saying, I got a judgment in the sum of 75 million. Pay me my money. Clear as day. If you refuse to pay me my money, I can ask a bank to institute garnishee proceedings till my debt is settled. It's tricky only because, on one hand, if I pay you your 75 million naira, my appeal is, I don't say it's not mature per se. It makes nonsense of the appeal to the Nigerian, to the Court of Appeal, to say, I am not in agreement with the judgment of the National Industrial Court, which was delivered by a judge that I respect, Judge Kanye. So there's a part of me that's thinking, okay, one hand, and these are kind of naughty issues that come before the courts. So you have to be very smart, you have to be very knowledgeable of the law, know the issues that need to be determined, and then the likely disputes in question. So this is the first part. So I'm going to go into the other parts of the judgment in a later video, but these are the two issues. The first one is, can an appeal prevent enforcement? So big deal. There's an appeal on ground that is essentially asking the court to stay execution of a particular judgment delivered by the National Industrial Court. Can an appeal stop enforcement? And then the question I always say is, okay, Nigerian law, which will likely rely on by the court, will determine whether an appeal can essentially stop the execution of judgment in a lower court. But that remains to be seen in the remaining parts of these videos that I'm going to talk about. But I just wanted you to get the sense of how sometimes, depending on how an employee is wrongfully terminated, sometimes you still need to rely on judgment of the court to help you determine if your case is the same or is a case that requires specialized advice by a solicitor or a legal practitioner like we have in Nigeria. The second issue is, did the judgment creditor follow the proper procedure for the garnishee order? So it's one thing to say, Nigerian Army owes me 75 million naira, but did they really follow the proper procedure? That's the next question. And what I say to this is, there are likely specific steps that are required to follow, that are required for you to adhere to obtain a garnishee order. And because I also don't want to give out too many trade secrets, I'm going to put that to you, who is the watcher right now. What are the steps that you think are required to get a garnishee order in this kind of instance? And let me know in the comment section what you think about today's video, because it's a very interesting case, and that's why I thought, okay, it's one thing for it to be addressing wrongful termination of employment, it's another thing for a garnishee order to be thrown into the mix. Oh my god. And then it happens to be paramilitary, or rather law enforcement, the military in this case. So it's a very interesting one. Very, very naughty issues were addressed in this matter. But what do you think? Do you think the judgment creditor was right to force the court to garnish the accounts of the Nigerian Army to settle the judgment of the lower court of 75 million? Or do you side with the Nigerian Army, like, hold up, you did get your judgment, but we don't agree with that judgment and we appealed, so there should be a stay of execution on that 75 million naira hitting your account? And in this instance, all I would say is the court will most likely consider arguments from both sides and then issue a ruling. There's always a ruling, because when you get to a point where you say you're giving a judgment on something, it means there have been a ruling on different applications that have been filed by two parties. Don't worry, that's legalese coming into this video. But the court will now look at both sides, the argument put before and against, and decide if a ruling is appropriate to get this matter settled. So let me know in the comment section what you think already of this particular dispute. Do you side for the Nigerian Army, or do you side for Captain Benedict Olusoji? I can't wait to get into the second part. Talk to you guys very, very soon. And if you haven't started following me already across social media, you know where to find me. I'm on Threads, I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and most importantly, I'm on LinkedIn. Don't forget to check me out today. Anticipate the second part of the video coming very soon.